I think just the qualities that are essential for somebody in a leadership role. I think it's important to grow into a particular role with the right characteristics and the right qualities. And I think she's exemplified that in everything she's done.
After decades of silence, Prince William has finally broken his silence on something he's kept hidden from the world, something that changes everything we thought we knew about the future king. This isn't just a headline or a media stunt. This is a deeply personal confession, a moment that strips away the royal image and reveals the man behind the title. And it's got everyone completely stunned. In today's story, we're diving into what Prince William revealed, how it ties back to the pain he's carried for years, and why this moment matters more than ever. But to understand the weight of this revelation, we need to go back to the very moment that shaped Prince William's life forever. Because what he just admitted, it's something that traces all the way back to her, Princess Diana.
What effect did the depression have on your marriage?
Well, it gave everybody a wonderful new label. It's Diana's unstable and Diana's mentally imbalanced. And unfortunately, that seems to have stuck on and off over the years.
All right, let's get real for a second. Being born into the royal family sounds like a dream, right? Castles, crowns, the whole fairy tale. But for Prince William, that dream came with a whole lot of pressure. Yes, he was born into privilege. The world literally celebrated his birth. People were camped out outside the hospital just to catch a glimpse of him. But behind all the headlines and flashing cameras, things were not picture perfect. In fact, his childhood was full of chaos. Chaos the public didn't always see. On the outside, you saw smiles on balconies, matching outfits with hair and those famous photo ops. But what you didn't see was the tension boiling at home between Charles and Diana. William grew up in the middle of a very public, very messy royal situation, and Diana? She knew this world wasn't normal. She knew her son needed more than just royal protocol and public appearances. That's why she made such a strong effort to ground William. And this part is really important, because it shows how much she tried to balance out the pressure. She'd take him to fast food spots, like literally McDonald's, and not for the photo op, but to show him a taste of normal life. She took him to homeless shelters, AIDS clinics, places the royals never used to go. It wasn't about charity photo shoots. It was about giving him perspective, making sure he saw the world beyond palace gates. There are even reports that she let him queue up with the public and pay with his own change. Imagine that, a future king counting out coins for a burger. That's the kind of mom Diana was. She wanted William to grow up human, not just royal. But as strong as Diana's love was, it couldn't completely shield William from what was happening behind closed doors.
It is my view that the deceitful way the interview was obtained substantially influenced what my mother said. The interview was a major contribution to making my parents' relationship worse.
Now let's talk about what really shook things at their core, the collapse of Diana and Charles' marriage. We've all seen the documentaries, the interviews, but for William, this wasn't tabloid drama. This was home. He saw it all firsthand. The arguments, the sadness, the distance. And here's the thing, he wasn't just a bystander. Diana once called William her little wise old man. That wasn't just a sweet nickname. It was her way of saying that even as a kid, William was taking on her emotional burdens. That's heavy stuff for a child, way too heavy. There are moments Diana reportedly leaned on William more than she should have, opening up to him about her pain, her isolation, even her fears. And he, being the sensitive, protective son he was, stepped into that role, not because he had to, but because he loved her. He started becoming her rock. Think about that. A kid, not even a teenager, trying to hold up his mother emotionally while the entire world watched their family fall apart. August 31st, 1997. That date still stings for so many people, but for William and Harry, it was the day their world shattered. They were at Balmoral Castle in Scotland when they got the news. Diana had died in a car crash in Paris, and for a while, the palace went silent. No public statements, no appearances, nothing. The boys were just gone from view. And that silence wasn't just the royal way of handling things, it was grief. When they finally did appear, it was for their mother's funeral. That image of William and Harry walking behind Diana's coffin, it's etched in history. But what most people didn't know back then was just how hard that walk was. And here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Prince Philip, their grandfather, walked with them as a gesture of love and support. He didn't have to, but he knew those boys needed strength beside them. That says a lot. Still, that walk wasn't a choice, it was a duty, and William knew he had to show the world a brave face.
Confirmation from our very own Foreign Secretary Robin Cook, who's in the Far East at the moment, that Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident in Paris just a few hours ago. There had been extreme concern that Diana was very seriously injured when she was taken from the wreckage. There was a news blackout to all intents and purposes for a significant amount of time.
So, here's a thing no one really talks about. After Diana's death, Prince William didn't have time to fall apart. He didn't have space to cry in peace or scream into a pillow like most people do when they lose someone that close. Instead, he did what so many people under pressure do. He pushed it all down. He went quiet, not just in interviews or public appearances, but emotionally. It's like he put on a mask, and behind that polished royal image was just a heart that hadn't had time to heal. You can actually trace this silence through his teen years. At Eton, one of the most elite schools in the UK, he focused hard on his studies. And honestly, that wasn't just about getting good grades. It was a way to stay busy, to distract himself. Keeping busy gave him a sense of control, something he probably felt like he completely lost the night his mom died. Then later, at St. Andrews University in Scotland, William found something unexpected, and that's where Kate comes in. Now let's pause here, because I know what you're thinking. Didn't they meet like any other unicouple? And yeah, kinda. But for William, meeting Kate was bigger than just a campus romance. She wasn't part of the royal bubble. She didn't treat him like a prince. She treated him like a guy. And after everything he'd been through, that was huge. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't Prince William, heir to the throne. He was just Will. Let's talk about William and Kate's relationship for a second. Now, most royal relationships play out like soap operas in the press, but William kept this one very low key, and that wasn't by accident. He knew how the spotlight destroyed his parents' marriage. He'd seen it firsthand. So he and Kate took their time. They dated quietly, they even broke up for a bit, because yeah, even future kings go through relationship stuff. And here's what makes their love story special. They didn't rush. They didn't force it. When they got back together, it was because they wanted to, not because of pressure from the palace or the press. That's rare. Now, one of the most emotional moments in their journey, when William proposed using Diana's sapphire engagement ring. That wasn't just romantic, it was powerful. It was like he was saying, "Mom, you're still part of this." He turned his grief into something meaningful, a symbol of love, not loss. In choosing Kate, William wasn't just picking a partner, he was reclaiming his right to peace, privacy, and purpose. You can see it in the way he talks about his kids. George, Charlotte, Louis, they're not growing up the way he did. William's doing everything he can to break the cycle. He wants them to have a childhood filled with warmth, hugs, bedtime stories, not press conferences and royal drama. And he's made real choices to protect that peace, like moving the family out of London to Windsor, not just for space, but for quiet. Less paparazzi, less noise. More trees, more time as a family. And that's the thing, he's not running from duty, he's just trying to do it differently.
My mother would have known that she'd been deceived. She was failed not just by a rogue reporter, but by leaders at the BBC who looked the other way rather than asking the tough questions.
All right, so this is the moment where everything really shifted, when William finally broke his silence about something that had been eating away at him for years, and I mean years. In an interview that caught everyone off guard, William admitted just how much his mother's death messed him up. And not just in a "that was a hard time" kind of way. He straight up said he was crumbling inside, even though on the outside he was trying to be the strong older brother for Harry, and honestly, for the entire country. Imagine that for a second. You're 15, your mom dies. You're expected to keep a stiff upper lip, walk behind her coffin in front of millions of people, and just carry on. And for decades he did, but underneath it all, he was suffering in silence. And then there's the Panorama interview. Remember that bombshell 1995 interview with Princess Diana? Turns out that thing wasn't just dramatic, it was manipulated. Like, we're talking full-on media scandal. BBC even apologized for it years later. William addressed it publicly, saying that interview deepened her isolation and worsened his parents' relationship. That's a huge deal. Royals don't do this kind of thing. So when William said all that, he wasn't just venting. He was basically pulling back the royal curtain and saying, here's what actually happened. In confessing his hidden pain, William didn't just share a personal truth, he shook the foundations of the monarchy. Now here's the inspiring part. Instead of letting all that pain define him, William did something with it. He got real about mental health, like really real. You've probably heard about his work with Heads Together. That's the charity he launched with Kate and Harry. But it's not just a PR thing. William actually talks openly about therapy, grief, and the fact that bottling up your emotions can seriously mess you up. And honestly, that's not what we're used to seeing from royals. For generations, showing emotion was seen as weakness in that world. But William flipped the script. He made vulnerability a strength, and people noticed. He's been encouraging others to talk too, whether it's about losing a parent, dealing with anxiety, or just being overwhelmed by life. And that right there, that's leadership. It's like he turned all that silence and heartbreak from his childhood into fuel for something better, something that could help other people feel less alone. So here's the big question. Was this the moment Prince William stopped being a symbol and started becoming a true leader? Let me know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Give this video a like if you felt it. And don't forget to subscribe for more royal truths we don't get from Buckingham Palace.